maybe get with your neighborhood association, organizations, just to see where your guys are going to be stationed at. And hopefully you can attend.
I have something for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I noticed a lot of activity along Topeka and also along Central or Second, and it seems like it's I assume have that those particular areas in the churches been reporting all of the vagrancy as well.
Yeah, that's Second Topeka is right where the day shelter is. So you're gonna have.
It's also right where I work.
So yeah, so it's a tough situation because you have obviously there's 150 homeless that go in and use the shelters. They come out, smoke cigarettes, hang out, and they legally can hang out just like you can in a park or on a sidewalk. They have their stuff and their items, and they can legally do that. We can't take items away from them because that's stealing and that's violating the Fourth Amendment rights. And so it's a delicate balance. A lot of cities have gotten rid of their camping ordinances because they've gotten sued. Austin just this month, they had to get rid of their camping ordinances. Now it's not legal for them to set up tents all along the sidewalks. And luckily for us, we've been without pushing the envelope too hard, so we've been able to still keep our camping ordinance and stay within the law and have some type of enforcement. So once they start setting up tents or sleeping bags, then we can come in and do some enforcement, explain the ordinance, and get voluntary compliance that way.
Now with the enforcement that's happening downtown, I've noticed actually, and I don't know if you've noticed that the population shifting.
Yes, that's
because
what
I've seen actually a lot of people in the Riverside Park and 21st Avenue area actually. So they're just continuing to shift north. Is there also movement south as well?
So Band-Aid is if you go into kind of an area and do some enforcement, you're going to see dispersing the problem to other places that does happen. So that's why it's really important for us. You know, yes, we're going to do some enforcement, make sure illegal behavior like drinking in public. Drinking in public is.
But the resources.
Yeah, but then we also want to come in with our homeless outreach team and get resources to them because you're really going to affect the problem and address it if you're helping people get off the streets into permanent social housing, not just citing people and they, like you said, move to another location and do the same thing again. And now you're kind of chasing them around. You really want to come in and start working with them and bring in the community because it's a community effort. It's not just law enforcement as well.
Have you noticed like one particular area that they're moving towards right now, or is it just kind of just dispersed?
Well, like you said, we did see some in Riverside. I'm going to have the next officer talk about that more and what we did there to actually stop that and then fix the problem. But again, we got to have that outreach and working with the community together so that we don't just keep doing that. So.
Any questions for Officer Frito?
Yes, sir.
We've had a lot of vandalism towards our buildings in downtown Wichita. Is there any advice that you would give to businesses in downtown Wichita to prevent damage to operating graffiti?
Well, graffiti, we do have the graffiti. The best thing to do is get it completely covered up immediately, even if it's going over the top, because that's going to show that you're not going to tolerate that. The other thing, obviously,
We still have stucco wall or something.
stucco wall. We do have the city's graffiti removal program too, so you can call and report that, and they'll try to work with you on that in that regards too. The other thing is go through what's called CEPTA, Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. Call your local community policing officer. They'll come out. They'll take a look at your property. See, hey, it'd be really beneficial if you put a light up right here. So light up at night, it's not dark, and you open it up, cutting away bushes, or sometimes adding bushes and thorn bushes or something. So those type of things, you can change the environment in your building to help kind of curb that behavior. So,
Thank you.
and obviously, if we start seeing a spike on when we're doing our crime stats, and we start seeing more of those reports, or hopefully you're reporting them, then we start looking at your properties in that area, going, okay, what's going on here? Is this something that we need to be doing? Is some special assignments that we have to do? Kind of like what we're getting ready to do. So
it's somebody with the same signature. Is it kind of all over downtown? I think it's like a CR.
okay, so it sounds like the suspects going around just hitting everybody.
Yeah.
So, and that's going to be
It's
those
like
things.
writing on our wall or something.
Yeah. Anytime you see suspicious characters or something like that, call 911 so we can get up there, get that guy identified, and stop that. There's crimes from occurring.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, Officer Frito. Officer Hayer.
All right, greetings, I am Officer Adam Patrol West. Please note that the other two of us, we dressed up for you. I exercised, I was on my bike today, so.
Yeah, we're tough
Never
as
been on
that.
my bike all day. I'm just saying. That's not dressing, this is dressing up. I'll piggyback off of what Officer Nate said about the homeless. We were having a huge problem, Riverside Park, with camping, not just the homeless, that's fine, but the camping, with the tents and the sleeping bags and the whole 9 yards. 800 block of Wiley, River Boulevard was calling, all the streets real close to Riverside was calling daily, which is fine. Initially, once we got the first call of camping, the hot team would come out, they would post the 72 hours, got to vacate, yada, yada. They did that. The problem, though, is that these, I don't want to say group, couple guys, two, three guys would just go different places in Riverside Park. And they would have to, the hot team would have to post another 72 hours here, another 72 hours there. So it was a game. It was just an insane game, just following them around because we got to play by the rules and they don't. Their last camp was at Wiley and River Boulevard under some trees, and it was a great place to hide, great place to camp. We went in there, we got calls daily on them, and once that's posted, there's not much we can do. We can't just kick them out. We got to wait the time limit. Class to wait the time limit to kick them out. So we go there. Yep, they're still there, and that's it. We didn't have any recourse at the time. Eventually, some ordinances were clarified for us, Patrol and CP out of Patrol West. And we actually could cite for overnight camping, even though it's during the day, as long as they had paraphernalia. So that's a tool that we use, or that we could have used. And that had a little bit of teeth. Finally, the 72 hours, City of Wichita came. The camp left, and they were told, this specific group was told, they come back in Riverside Park, they can be arrested, that they would be arrested. And then the city came and pared all the trees down so we could actually see in there. They can't hide behind the branches, but the trees are still there. This group I rode by there today on my bike. Not in the car. I was
The
more
fire
upset.
department's the one who pointed out there's 3 patrol cars out front, not a bicycle.
There's a bicycle on my back.
Even the fire department figured that one out.
Well, not exactly. It was on the back of my patrol vehicle. I was more accessible to the citizens. So I rode by there, through there was nothing. It was clean. We're not getting any calls. The hot team, matter of fact, got an email from a citizen on Wiley that everything is fine. People are walking their dogs now later at night. Riverside Park is being used later on at night for what it was intended for now because the camps are gone. I also got with the city attorney, and we can actually ban violators for a year from any specific park for recurring problems. So that's another tool. We haven't gotten to that yet, but that is a tool. So Riverside Park is right now campless. So we'll see. That was the camping part. The scooters. We love the scooters. Right now it's the educational phase. We were advised for the next month, maybe the end of August, to educate. And we got a little piece of paper to hand out to all the scooter riders. And that is a huge headache for us right now. I got vandalism report from Sim Golf Course last week. I called the scooter representative. He's actually going to be here for Neighborhood Night Out, but he gave me an email. We could geo-fence something so we could actually block out a specific location. So if somebody tries to go on in that area, the scooter will just die. So we got that taken care of. It's going to be, it's still going to be a headache because we're going to have more and more scooter products. But after this month is over with the education that we can enforce. Now, whether that's effective or not, we'll see. It's our concern, I'm sure his concern, is just safety. It's just common sense safety. It's thrown out the window when they see these scooters here. Expiration place, 300 North Lane. I still have problems at night with teenagers hanging out there and causing problems, but it has diminished since they have private security rolling the rods every night for a couple times. And neighborhood night out on next Tuesday, and the river walk. Real quick, I'm not gonna go too much into detail right now, but we are having this river walk volunteer program. Hasn't started yet, but ultimately what is gonna happen is there's gonna be some volunteers patrolling on the bike path. Technically from Lincoln to 13th Street. They'll be on either a bicycle themselves or a golf cart. And they are to assist or to deter by calling 911 any type of illegal activity. They are not going to get involved with crime prevention themselves. They will call us. If somebody's lost, they would give basic information, basic help. But those are, right now, the volunteers are going to be Citizens Police Academy alumni. So they will be vetted a couple times. And that's a program we're about to start, I would say next couple of weeks. We're going to should be training them this Wednesday night. And then it should go, and there are only a couple hours, it can start off only a couple hours a day down there. And then if it proves fruitful, then we'll go longer and then even include some parks. But basically it's just for assistance for the citizens. So that's all I have. Anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
On the bridge along the river, where the Ammerman Street, just south of 21st, on the west side, underneath, someone has hung something under there that makes it look like a person is hanging under there. Is there any way to get that removed? It's really creepy.
Yeah, as long as we know it's really not a person.
It's like a wig and a trash bag, and it looks like a person at a glance.
Right.
It's not a real person.
I'll send an email to the community police officer. He might already know about it. I don't know how long it's been there, but I'll mention it to him, and we could go down there tomorrow and take it down, or anybody can take it down.
And you said that's over the big river.
Yeah, it's
The bridge over the big river
just
west
south-
of Amity.
just south of 21st Street.
Right by Southwest National.
Yeah, that'd be the little river.
No.
Are you talking about the Amity Bridge?
Yeah, the Amadon
Yeah.
Bridge, just south of 21st Street, and it's on the north side of the river, on the west side of the bridge.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get it taken care of tomorrow.
The reason we're clarifying is the west side of the river is on Patrol West.
That's why.
Right
that's why
there,
it's
it's
always so
Patrol
tough.
West and 11 B. If it's on the east side, it's on Patrol North and Mine Beach. So that's why we're trying to clarify. I may run over there real quick anyway.
I didn't try to take it down because I'm not exactly graceful and I figured they'd fall over. So,
I may run over there real quick.
Send me.
the other thing,
I would, but he said he's gonna take care of
His
it.
bike already got put up.
You can see us.
I'll just hold on to it.
the other thing I've got is, school's starting next week. We're gonna have, my neighbor and I will have kids cutting through our yard every day, and I don't know how to stop them. They would put locks on the gates, they kick the locks off, they destroyed half of our fence. How do we stop it? Everything I can think of probably is not legal.
Well, then you keep that part too, so.
You could hang something up to make it look like.
Yeah, hang something. Yeah. That's a secret there.
The last person who cut through my yard.
Yes. Yeah. You know, you can put up signs. It's probably a losing battle because you can't stay there all day, you know, telling people, no, we can't stay there all day.
Yeah, it's hard to catch them because they're so fast.
Yeah.
When I catch them and they go back, but I mean, the next day there's 3 of them going back.
You know, you could try to put up signs and no trespassing. It doesn't even have to be that legal type of sign, just something to know. And that might be effective. It won't be effective for everyone because you're going to have the rebel kids. areas. But do that, keep on being vigilant, and if you need to, obviously call us, or where do you live?
Well, we back up to the apartments, Magnolia and Morgan's Land.
Okay. Same.
So our fence line between our two properties is fence line to the two sets of apartments. So
The other thing I was gonna add is a video camera. And the only reason I say that, a cheap one, is because you can take that footage to the local school and say, hey, can you look and go talk to these kids or talk to their parents about this? And usually that can be effective. The alternative, I would say, is also like Home Depot, I think for $24, you can like fake cameras that have a red light blinking that makes them now think they're on video.
I was thinking of motion detector that sounded like a mean dog or something.
You could just get a mean dog.
Get it, dog.
You get a mean dog, I'll get
Say, get a Chihuahua, they'll never go back to that yard.
That's true.
Have you contacted your community police officer before, Mike Johnson?
I didn't know who it was.
Okay. It'd be M Johnson 2, the number 2, because we have 2 Mike Johnsons, at wichita.gov. Send him your concerns, and then he, just like what this officer said, he might go to the school, talk to the teacher, talk to the principal, we can maybe relay it to him, maybe put it on a newsletter or something. And you definitely want to get it as soon as possible, so you don't have to fight it throughout the whole year.
Do you know which school you think it is?
It's probably black.
Then maybe go talk to the principal before the school starts or right before next week. They'll probably send out a blast to parents anyway on email, and maybe they can include something in there about that.
Do you have something to question?
Yeah, whatever. As far as like the e-scooters, you said that here and end of next or end of this month, that's when you start like getting tickets or anything.
Right.
Do you have any idea what that ranges from as far as pricing and stuff like that? I run eSkate Wichita, and we have all the PEVs here in Wichita, and I talked with Mike Dan to get a PEV board or personal electric vehicle board set up, because I sit on the bike advisory board, or I go to the bike advisory board meetings, just so I can inform our community, which is one of the big communities there with the e-scooters and stuff like that.
91 bucks.
91 bucks.
Last time we were told, 91 bucks.
91.50, I think is what I was told.
Yeah.
Now, it could change, it could go up, it could go down. It's not going to go down.
Yeah,
It could go up, but right now it's 91.
okay.
But the ordinance only applies to the scooters that are here from the other,
Rentable scooters,
yeah,
yes.
the
It's not
rentable ones,
right.
for
That
now.
was the question I had.
Yeah, for
It
personal
is.
scooters, right now, we haven't done any.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to work with Mike Tan on,
Yes.
the transit director, to sit on because like I said, I'm an active member of the bike advisory board meetings, and that's been a hot topic, obviously, for us there, to create we call them PEVs, or personal electric vehicles. Anything that's not, a PTV or an LSV, a low-speed vehicle, or personal transportation vehicles. I've done a lot of research on it. Even today, I got talked to by one of the officers as I was riding on Douglas with my electric skateboard. It's not technically a skateboard because it's motorized, it's not human powered. So I always try to inform our community to work better with our community here, as best as we can.
Yeah.
That's what our goal is there to try to do. So
Education on both parts.
absolutely,
We go a long way.
absolutely.
So they're not bound by the 9 p.m. deadline.
They're not bound by anything right now.
And that's the big thing right there is,
Yeah.
if we get that board set up and everything, I would love to start really kind of honing in on some of the personal laws and stuff like that, because we're a huge proponent, our eSkate Wichita group is a huge proponent of doing things safely. Obviously you probably saw me coming in with my helmet and everything, just doing things the right way. That's the main thing we want to do. So, okay, I will inform my people. So.
Thank you. Other questions for
I have one. I presume that it's Patrol West that is working on the homicide of Chuck Giles.
Yes, that happened on Patrol West.
And I was just wondering if there was an update on that. That has been a great loss to our neighborhood.
It has, I don't know for sure. I'm sure there are updates. We are not privy on it though. They will only tell us what we, I'm talking about the defective and homes, that's, they will only tell us what we need to know. Just, we don't want to, screw up any current investigation. So.
And I haven't
wish
heard
could
anything
help.
else, Kathy. Yeah.
I think there's a GoFundMe page to help get money for, like a reward, a $9 reward.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Anything else?
We're gonna get back on my bike now. Okay.
I'll videotape that.
Careful,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
And I think the fire department had a call, so I hope it wasn't anything bad. Yeah. Well, next month, and they may come back. Sometimes they come back and we'll get them in. All right, now is the time, if there's somebody here in the audience who wants to speak on something that is not on the agenda, this would be the time to do that. Anybody here that wants to speak on something that's not on the agenda?
I'm John Rosales, 2349 North Market. I just wanted to give thanks to those involved in Waco Street. I guess you could say renovation. It's really appreciated, and I was just wanting to find out if there was any right-hand turning lanes. I don't know if it's possible because of that 3-lane 21st, but just something I was thinking about. And just wanted to say thank you to Angela publicly. She put on a great show back in June. There at Evergreen, or I'm sorry, at Woodland Park, and just want to say thank you for the neighborhood, especially to my family. Thank you.
I'm sorry, what was your name, sir?
Ron Rosales.
Thank you.
Mr. Rosales is on the school board, so thank you
Okay.
for being
Oh,
here
okay.
this evening. So, Ron, let me ask you, on Waco, are you talking between 15th and 21st or all the way?
21st going north.
So, okay.
Where the liquor
Before-
store is, if there's a way to turn right. I mean, I just was curious.
Okay.
Because it looks like that's the next part of the phase for Waco Street. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Find out again.
Oh, and by the way, thank you for whoever did blinking yellow light there. Thank you so much. Because
Yeah,
there's a lot of frustrated residents in that area because it turned red and nobody was going.
yeah, that's, that engineer said, oh, we should have done that sooner, but
Yeah.
we're gonna do that.
Better
So,
late than never.
yeah, and they may not be, I avoid Waco right now because of the construction, so it's still closed between 15th and 21st, I believe.
Yes.
Okay,
One way.
yeah, you can only go south on it, right? So we'll see, we can talk, Janet can talk with the engineering and see what their plans are for striping that finally. 'Cause I don't think they're all
Yeah.
quite done yet, so, all right, thank you.
I just want to say thank you. I work at a job that is kind of thankless.
Well, thank you for your service too. All right, anybody else here to speak on something that's not on our agenda tonight? All right, okay, we have one zoning case tonight. I think Kathy, you're up.
And I did pass out earlier, some of you have a copy of, this is a utility map showing the green shows the sewer and the dark blue shows the water line. And this, oh, okay, yeah, I didn't make it. So this is a request for rezoning from single family residential to 2-family residential. This is on a platted, it's actually 2 lots, it totals 1.37 acres. And so the applicant wants to put 18 dwelling units or 9 duplex units on this 1.37 acres. And so we've been doing this. We've done this already a couple of times within the District 6 council district. So this is a little bit larger. So the applicant will have to, if the zoning is approved, they will have to put together a more detailed site plan, grading plan, parking plan, that type of thing, before they can get their building permit issued, but they will not be required to replat. And just to the north of this is a condominium development. To the south of it is a duplex development. It is on West Elm. It's a gravel street at this time that turns into a cul-de-sac. And there will probably be some additional requirements for fire safety. There are two, there's one water hydrant that's right at the end of the cul-de-sac on Elm. And then the next closest water hydrant is up on the street to the north, on the north side of those condominiums. So, you know, they'll have to go through all of that during their plans review. So staff is recommending that this application be approved. And I know that there's a comment from Bill Longnecker and Gregory Boyajian.
Very good.
So I will answer any questions. Be nice.
All right. Bill and Greg?
Bill.
Oh, Bill, okay.
E before G.
Okay.
Well, Gregory and I were looking at the duplex development south here, and we were wondering if there was conditional use on that. Gregory was thinking that one of the things we asked on that zone change was that the property owner signed a no protest petition for paving.
Oh, yeah.
So we would ask that this property also participate in the no protest petition for paving. I don't know. We've got single family residential abutting it on the east side. I'm wondering if solid screening would be appropriate for this particular site since it more resembles an apartment. I was wondering if solid screening would be appropriate for this density since it's abutting right against single family on the east side. I know Kathy did say that, you know, they're going to be looking at any requirements for landscaping, setbacks, parking, et cetera. So I'm wondering if we should go ahead and have a solid screening on that east side where it lets single family residential. That's just something that the body can consider. That
Yeah.
is no protest petition.
Right. And I would say an answer to that is because it's residential and up to residential use, a solid screening would not be required by the zoning code. That is certainly something that we could discuss with the applicant to see if they would consider doing that. But as you can see from the site plan, they don't have on there where they're locating their dumpsters. They don't have anything in there about where the parking is going to be, all of that kind of stuff. So that I can certainly add that to the recommendation that goes.
Don't change with conditional use. We can add conditions to
Right.
conditional use.
Right.
Single family.
That's correct. And so this will be heard at the planning commission meeting this Thursday. Yes, sir.
Maybe you or Bill, could you explain what the no protest pavement, what do
Well-
you mean by that, Bill? What does that mean?
Well, at such time that Elm Street is ever, if there's a petition to get this paved, Elm Street, that means this property owner cannot protest the paving of Elm Street. He's essentially agreed to participate in the pavement at Elm in such time and whenever it is paved, which there's no timeline on that.
Thank you.
I have a question. The paving, since that's the paving, there's just one property.
So the neighbors want to pay.
It's winning it.
Yeah, just this.
Yeah, just this applicant.
Okay.
This property where the duplexes are already has a no protest
Petition.
petition.
The current one.
The current,
The
yeah.
current.
And so, you know, when they pave, they have to, the traffic engineers or street engineers have to get a petition from the property owners. And so what this would require is that if there's a petition that goes out for paving of that street, that the duplex property owner would not protest it.
We almost always put that in on these, don't we?
It's,
It's been done in the past. I haven't done one with this many units on it
Yeah.
in a while, and it's certainly not on an unimproved street.
Good.
The comment there is that this is a relatively short street, and the last two that we pretty much approved have been on streets that are more than a half mile long, so it.
That's true.
I was just wondering, this is a lot of units for not a lot of space. Has there been any protests from the neighborhood?
No, I have not heard anything. And actually, the TF3 requires that there be 6,000 square feet per duplex building. And the 9 duplex buildings are less than what the actual square footage of the 2 lots are. So they're meeting the TF3 requirements. It's just that it's on 2 lots instead of individual lots for each unit.
Now is so they don't have a parking plan yet, or do they have a proposed amount of spaces per unit? Or what is the minimum per zoning requirements?
In TF3, what we have been asking for is 2 parking spaces per unit. So off-street, they can't count on-street parking. So 2 spaces per unit for off-street. And like I said, when they go for their building permit, this will have to go through plans review. And so they'll have to have a grading plan. They'll have to show where the water lines and sewer lines are gonna be laid. Of course, that map shows you where there are existing lines for them to tap into. And they will get more detailed with their site plan.
So there will be 18 units, 36 parking spots on the 1.3 acres?
Yeah. At least. That'll be part of the conditional use.
so the site plan is showing each unit to have a single family, 1 garage, 1 car garage.
Yes.
So with that in the drive, you
Yeah.
got 2.
You have, yes, with the garage parking space counts for one of those 2. So they'd have 1 car in the garage and 1 on the drive apron.
Okay.
And then the other thing, as I mentioned, they don't show the location of the trash area, which that will be required to have some kind of fencing around it, solid screening around it.
It seems like they would have to have the street paved pretty quickly, because we put 36 more cars on the street, but we're already duplexes there, that's a lot of cars on the dirt street.
Yeah, but yeah,
You
the
still have to drive up the street to get it out.
right.
2 or 3 times a day.
And so I don't know what that's gonna be up to the residents on that street to request that petition for paving. I don't know that would be done proactively by the street maintenance or not.
You can ask Public Works to do this as a project.
Yeah. Yeah, any of the CIPs, I'm not sure that this one's
Or-
locked.
Yeah, that's what,
Yeah.
that it is.
In that same conversation about the street, you mentioned that the right of way is 60 feet.
Right.
But yet the gravel portion of this, if it's 30 feet, I
Right.
would be surprised.
Yeah, so that's 15 feet per lane.
Yeah.
But the city has a 60-foot right of way, so that if they ever went in there and put paving, they could also put, because within that area, there's some storm drains. And so they could hook into those, so they would probably use a good portion of that 60-foot right of way.
So side question to here is with the amount of traffic that's gonna be presumed to be going in and out of there, is there any part of this where the city can come in and grade this differently? Because just with one car parking on the street there or
Well,
half on the grass and half.
There wouldn't be any parking for the
Yes, but it's the current parking.
current
that
residents
is
that would park on the
It's these
street.
three duplexes and these two houses here, these two houses, when they park on that, that's full. I mean, that's the observation that individuals looking at the site notice is that
Okay,
once it's,
the,
and it's not on us, is how does the city see that with respect to looking at how wide that route should be?
well, the,
Would that affect the use of the zone that we're looking at?
no,
It's other property.
Correct.
no,
But I saw that, I'm asking, should that have any bearing on our decision on the zone?
Yes, because it's part of these questions here, is access to the place safe and simple.
I was out there at that site 3 different times, but there again, you know, I was out there during the daytime, like after 10 and before 3. And so I don't know what that on-street parking looked like, but those individual single-family residences do have
Yes,
sufficient.
that's not really
Yeah.
the question, it's just how that street is being utilized and how it's perceived to be utilized. And if there's a car on either side parking in the street, it's going to become very difficult for one-way passage. That would be just
Yeah.
going one way.
But we got the minimum requirement, 60-foot right of way.
It's just how is that used, because this isn't 60 feet wide, it's 60 feet wide all the way here.
Well, I understand, but, you know, if on single-family residential, if you've got a 60-foot wide street right of way in front of your home, you got curb back 15 foot, the front, 15 foot back from your curb is right of way. That's typically where utilities go, because it's easier to dig up your yard than it is the asphalt. So, I mean, they've got room to make the improvements. It's just a question of what's going to trigger the improvements. And the only thing I'm looking at is to make sure that they don't protest if it ever gets paid. Anything beyond that, you know, I think perhaps needs to be addressed to Public Works to see what.
And we haven't had any issues, there haven't been any complaints about parking along that, because the other thing that they could request is they put up no parking signs on one side of that street.
Oh, they have already?
No,
Oh, they
I'm
have
saying
not.
they
Oh, they
could.
could, oh,
they could,
yeah.
if,
So if we
if
ran
that,
into that,
yes.
that issue that Greg's talking about,
We're seeing we immediately find that issue to be basic with machinery going down there and grading and construction. I mean, they're gonna find that out pretty quickly.
yeah. Okay, other questions or comments for Kathy? All right, anybody in the audience like to address this issue? If not, I'll bring it back to the board, and if there's no other questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Just one question with respect to the non-protest, how do we ensure that that's put in there and that it's appropriately taken care of or agreed to?
That could be done at the planning commission, because the planning commissioners generally ask if the cases have been presented to the district advisory boards and if there has been any, you know, further recommendations. So that would be relatively easy for them to add to the conditions listed on the conditional use,
So can you make?
if they want to.
I'll make that motion.
So you make that motion, make the recommendation that a no protest be provided.
Yes.
Are you making a motion?
Is that what what I'm doing?
I'm asking you. That's what I'm asking you. Are you making a motion?
And this is for only the rezoning part. This is not for the for the conditional part.
Yeah, it is.
What?
It's for both.
One case.
This is all one
Yeah.
case. I wasn't sure if it was written.
And Greg, I would encourage you in the motion that I like the idea of screening, as we've talked about.
I don't like the idea of screening.
Say that again?
I don't like the idea of screening.
Each one, like,
Well, because it's a residential place, he's building some duplex, it's not a business, you're just putting more burden onto the client.
yeah, but the screening is just more of a.
It's more expense for the client.
Yeah, but it's conditional use. That's something you can add with conditional use. Of course, it's body have to deliberate on it, just as a little no protest, but you should pay it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can vote on it, and if the motion's done, we can create a new motion, can't we, without the screening?
Can I ask you, yes, I want to ask a question, Kathy. The landscaping, what would the landscaping look like on that side if there were no solid screening?
That would just be up to the applicant, because there's no requirement for landscaping
On that
on this
side?
lot,
Okay. All right,
or on these two lots.
okay.
Yeah, but you did include that as a consideration, you're saying conditional use.
There are small trees.
It looks like there's a border, almost tree line along the.
Ish, yeah.
Yeah, it says in the conditional use, prior to the issuance of a building permit, a site plan will need to be provided that will determine the location of landscaping, parking, and building setbacks.
And I guess what I have in mind is the property that's on Zoo, just northwest of West Street. There was, I think, 3 duplexes that were put there, and they screened that entire lot on all 3 sides. And I thought it was a good addition. I mean, they squeezed 3 decently sized properties on that.
And solid screen?
It's always, yeah.
Well, and you know that west property line is against the railroad right of way, so I would be very surprised if the applicant did not put some kind of solid screening along that railroad.
Yeah.
There's a hurricane fence or chain link fence along there right now.
In my thought process, it seems like requiring screening might be a little bit overly aggressive for us to require. I think that screening in general, like that's such a prerogative of the property owner.
No, it's really on our part to make a recommendation. We can't require it. All we can do is make a recommendation.
I understand, but I'm saying to recommend to require the screening seems a little bit like overkill, in my opinion.
I like the aggressive word.
Respectfully.
I don't agree with the screening we're talking about, because that actually it's been found that increases crime and it cuts off residents in the other part of the neighborhood. And since this is a residence, I would like to see the residents that could be a welcome part to the community instead of separated off them.
Okay, so we're gonna make a motion?
Yes.
Okay, so I recommend that we agree to let them change the zoning and to put in Bill's, whatever he calls it,
No protest petition.
no protest
Pavement.
petition for the pavement.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion or questions?
Second.
You're 30.
Yeah, we got a second. All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Thank you, Kathy. And so you'll make sure that gets to MAPC.
Yes, I will. I've got a note on
Thank you very much.
my staff report, and I will make sure that it gets to the commission members before they.
So what, so what do you do regular? What's your
I
regular?
can't.
So you have
All right.
You don't like this stuff? You don't like being here with us?
No, I went over there to take care of it, and it was gone, and we don't know who did it.
Graffiti gone.
Who removed it, so thank you to whoever did that.
All right, our next item is a request to designate a percentage of the capital improvement program for public art. And Jeff Best and Ty Tatum were supposed to be here, but we are very fortunate to have former council member Sharon Ferry here tonight to present to us. So
Oh, that's even
I will
better.
turn it over to you, Sharon.
Thank you. And I did not make these very big things for everybody that will go and we'll go through them, but there's a couple that you can pass around. I'm very happy to be here tonight. I think I was just thinking I was on the District 6 DAB 18, 19 years ago, I think, when it was first starting. So brings back good memories, and I really appreciate all of you for doing this because I think it's one of the really important things that our city has and does. And obviously, I am neither Jeff Best nor Ty Tabby. We had to keep dividing to conquer to make it to all 4 of the DABs that are meeting this evening. So if I can do this right. Okay. Public art supports our community through jobs and health and a sense of belonging. One of the things that I think the most about public art is that it does bring our communities together regardless of age, race, and ethnicity. The arts help attract companies, industries, and workers and tourists to our city. It gives something that people can say, I'm from the city that has the Keeper of the Plains, just like, you know, maybe you know something about Chicago and the Bean or the Ferris wheel, all those kind of things that give a community an identity. Public art helps identify who we are by enhancing our neighborhood and city pride. I think a lot of you, like on our different bike paths that run through the neighborhoods, you see different public art that's unique to that neighborhood for us. When art is added during the design of projects, it can be integrated and it adds really very little cost to the overall project by doing it up front. Like out on East Kellogg, they have to pour all that concrete anyway. So if they pour it and just do that stamped concrete in it right from the beginning, it really is not much of an additional cost. And it does make our city then look exciting. Public art helps define us by embracing our history, like the Manissa Bridge there at North High, and helping us to look to the future, like the piece at our new airport. Public art is fun. It's found in unexpected places like the Troll, and it makes us smile and helps our children love their community. Today, there are approximately 350 public art programs in the United States, most of which are housed within government agencies. And public art programs administer the development of public art and allocate funds for the maintenance of that public art. And these are peer cities of ours that the city and council members have traveled to over the past 10 years that have percents for public art. You'll see that there's a lot of different percentages up there, and those, as you'll see what we're recommending for Wichita, they're based on different parts of the CIP. Most of the ones that are 1% are based on the entire CIP that is funded every year. And we started drafting this ordinance several months ago. It was the outcome of an ad hoc committee that was put together and to talk about why public art is important to the city of Wichita. And from that, we decided that we really needed an ordinance in the city books that helps define what the design council does in recommending artwork. It will help allocate the money to go to it. And it really, a lot of what that ordinance will do is codify the process that the city has been using for at least the last 20 years. It's been a little hit and miss, and I think a good example of that right now is some of the things going on with the ball field. Its art has been a little bit of an afterthought, although I think it will be great when it's done. But it really makes it harder, not only for the design council, but really for the city council members, because of course they want to leave a legacy of a great city. Now, one of the other things that this ordinance does is allocate money for a maintenance fund. And I know that's always, hello. It's our finance person. Yeah. So are they making you go to different dance? Yeah. Oh, wow. You drew the short straw. I made this really fun. Anyway, maintenance, of course, is always a big issue. We put up a lovely piece of art, and pretty soon we're seeing that something's happened to it. There is some maintenance money now, but this, again, would codify a special fund for maintenance so that those artworks could be taken care of. And in the ordinance, there's quite a bit about deaccessioning, and if the artwork is damaged by so much, this will happen and all that. I was not going to go into that tonight because it gets a little So this slide, it says fund calculated on 1.5% of the CIP, but as you'll see in a later slide, that's almost just to use as an example that you can see then in the circle that 80% of the money available for the CIP projects would go to the art, 20% to the maintenance, and then the eligible projects there in the green would be the project would go to the design council. They would make a recommendation for funding for the art kind of artwork, if there should be an artist consultant or an artist on the project, and all that starts getting put together so that we come out with the art at the end of the project. And the process will assure equal distribution across districts and neighborhoods. It will establish guidelines to select artists and designate responsibilities for maintenance of the public art. And then this is where we get a little bit more into the money end of things. And that is fixed now. We had a mistake there. We fixed it. Anyway. You can see at the top that what staff is recommending for Wichita is that we use 3 revenue sources. Would be GO at-large funding from the published CIP, the local sales tax with 1% annual growth with 2018 as a base year, and then the transient guest tax from the published CIP. And you get down there and you see the totals, and if we used 1.5% of that for the public art, we would end up at the end of those years with about 44.73% of what it would be if we continued on with the 1.4% that city staff has said that we've been using over the last, they did it over a 5-year period, but if you extrapolate it on out, this would only be 44.73 of how much it would have been if we kept going at 1.4 of the entire CIP. So as you can see, it's a pretty big drop. What our committee is recommending is that we do the 2% of these 3 funding sources, which would get us up to almost 60% of where we are now. We also realize that there would probably then be special projects on top of this, like the new water treatment plant, that is going to be such a signature project that we would probably need to go to the city council and say, we don't have enough money in this to do all the arterials and parks and everything for the year, and also fund the water treatment plant like it should be funded. So they would need then to find extra money to allocate to that project. That's about it, but before I put this last slide up, I think it's just such an excellent example that you'll see here in a minute of how far we can come with public art. And that is what the keeper used to look like, that's it now. And there are several other examples like that, that are really pretty wonderful in our great city here and make people like to visit. And I'm sure all of you have heard the comments that people will come here for a convention or something and they'll be like, I've got to come back. No, nobody ever told me Wichita had all this great stuff here. So I can answer questions, and then we do have Elizabeth here from the finance department too that can help answer questions. We're glad you made it.
I have a question. You said the money would come from Go Funds, and what were the other two?
The local sales tax and the transient guest tax.
Okay.
So what it would do, it would leave out enterprise funds, which are like the water utilities. So if somebody, so it's like when people pay their water bill and it goes to infrastructure for water lines, then that wouldn't have a percentage come off of that for this. And then it also leaves off special assessments, which usually aren't as big a deal in the 6th district, but in some of the newer districts and new neighborhoods, there's a lot of special assessments to pay for streets. So that have that.
So for individual construction such as the ballpark, is the public art figured into that already, or is it looked at from the perspective as coming from this source, this 1.5% to 2% source?
In the future, it would probably depend a little bit because that would probably be one that they would need to find some more money to allocate to it. But for something like, well, take this library when we did it, and there was all the reconstruction costs. The design council would have said then it's a special consideration project, and it should have 3% of the total cost added to it to do the artwork, like the beautiful colors out in the front. And then that, through the process with the new ordinance, would go to city council. Once they adopted it, it would go to each of the departments that was over that project, and they would know that that's what money they have and how they need to use it.
And you're asking for 2%, correct?
Of those 3. Yeah, we would like more. Yeah, we really feel like, this would be a good place to start. We might have to come back, and with most ordinances, you give them a year or two, and then they need some tweaking. But partly, we just really need to codify the process. For the past several years, a good example is last year, the Design Council designated money for projects. The aquatics plan was one of them. And we thought we did this, I'm on the design council, so the design council thought, well, we did this and the minutes have gone on, so now that's what will be included. Well, nobody ever took it though to the budgeting people. And so now we're having to go back and say, wait a minute, there needs to be artwork, and the council members generally want that artwork for the aquatics plan so that the pools will look great. And so it'll keep us from having to always be playing catch up.
Is there a protocol between coordinating between the art people and when streets are being refinished or if there's new construction? Is there some kind of coordination protocol? For example, a street being repaved somewhere and ask the art people about putting art along it or enhancing it. Is there a regular protocol for that?
What happens right now is that the design council gets the CIP, the capital improvement plan, and we look at the next 3 years, I think, but pretty much the next year and start breaking that down as to this is a highly visible intersection or street, and there's kind of this point, maybe like where two neighborhoods meet or something, that, or there's going to be this little bit of land left, that would be a great place for public art. And the other thing that can happen is that residents of an area, if they know we're getting this street paved and we know there's this little park here and it would be so cool to have a piece of art there to help identify our neighborhood, you could go to your city council member and then he or she would get a hold of the design council and we'd try to work through it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Do you have any art that'll keep people from running through your
Probably.
Bikes.
I thought of that, but I thought I'd be arrested.
I don't know, I live downtown, so we sometimes have people camping in my garden that's only about this wide.
Hey, Sean, can you explain that, and maybe you guys all caught this, but so the 1.5 or 2% is being set to establish the budget. That doesn't mean that every project gets that. Some will get more. Can you?
True. It's the way one of the members on our committee describes it is it's like a big soft water balloon, and you know you push in here and it bulges out there. So this project may get a big bulge and this project doesn't get anything. So yeah, not every street repaving or even every park improvement is going to need or get art, but then right, so that may get none, and then you know, like I said, the library, when it was done, it may have gotten 3 or 4%.
So how is this utilized with the county? And the only reason I bring it up, there's a new piece of artwork going up in Sedgwick County Park there, and so you're talking about this, I'm seeing that, and I go, two different sources, two different completely. So how are these things coming together? How are these two entities coming together? They're not. Okay.
They're not too much. I can say that some of the stuff out in Sedgwick County Park, the Wichita Arts Council has been working with them on, what was it, the Sensory Art Garden?
Right.
That they're doing out there. The Arts Council is their fiscal agent for that, and I think has sent out a couple of letters trying to help them raise some money for that. But as far as actually commingling money, we really don't.
Well, it may not even be commingling money. It's just the overall plans for the city / county, county / city, where do we want to be, when do we want to be there? I mean, from my perspective, if there was something that could be used to bring the county and the city together, this might be one of those things. I mean, the fire department got there, why can't the Arts Council get there?
Well, and the county does give, not the design council, but the arts council money to help operate. And I think a good example is the Intrust Bank Arena. When they went down there, they did make sure that they had an artist consultant on looking at all that. And then the artwork that's outside of the arena on some pedestals, the city generally was doing the pedestals and the county liked those, and so they paid to have those done on the arena site, and then the city coordinates what artwork goes up there year by year.
Yeah, and I can understand that, being that was primarily a county project for the most part. But once again, it's a place where brothers and sisters can come together, at least cooperate.
I don't disagree.
I'll give it that.
Any other questions or comments? Or? So what are we asking for here? Feedback and suggestions. So I think you got.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to take it further than that, that's fine, but I think mainly we wanted Councilmember Claycomb to hear kind of what you all thought, and not hearing anybody.
I think 2% of those, because it's not 2% of the full CIP.
No.
So 2% of those 3 funding streams seems like a reasonable amount,
Okay.
given the size of the funding.
I think there's still some maybe discussion going on. Elizabeth, can you clarify this at all? Some discussion still going on about what the 1.4% was.
Yeah, sure. I think when we did a look back of public arts. I'm Elizabeth Wiltry. I work in the budget office, and I was here, I think, 2 months ago, right? Time flies. So when we did the financial analysis on public art, we looked back and look, it's really hard to break out the public art spending on a project, but we worked with Public Works on that. And one thing that we noticed, and if you remember back to the CIP presentation, is that our CIP is really pivoting to having more maintenance projects and no more freeway projects except for the North Junction project. And so as we've been constructing Kellogg, since I guess the late 1980s, the sales tax was passed in the mid 1980s, those freezes along Kellogg have added up to a pretty significant amount of public art as a percentage. So what we did is we did a look back on public art spending without the Kellogg projects, and that's how staff came up with the 1.5% recommendation. So it's looking back at spending as if there was no Kellogg projects in it, because moving forward, we don't have any bridge programs yet. I don't know if that answers your question.
It's just hard to, I think the point is it's difficult to look back and say how we move forward.
Yeah.
And so we're having still having some discussions about
But that's a big difference between the CIP that we used to have and our CIP moving forward. So in this board, we're gonna see a lot more street maintenance projects. We have a lot of park projects in the upcoming CIP, and there's a lot of opportunities for public art there. Implementation of the branch library study, obviously out of order, or library branch study, either way. That's in the CIP as well, and I know there's been a lot of discussion about incorporating public art in that, even though there is one expansion and one addition, but most of those projects are renovations, so including public art there as well.
And the other piece that isn't in there, in the 1.5 or the 2%, is things that we already do in terms of decorative lights and bricks and street pavers, things like that. So those would still get done, they'd be in addition to the 1.5 or 2.
Yeah, those are considered design standards today, so those are automatic. So this is above and beyond. Yes.
So landscaping around a piece of art is a separate budget item.
Yeah, I think that all of that.
I'm thinking of that piece of art at Zoo Boulevard and
Oh, the one at Central and Zoo?
Zoo that's damaged and there's no landscaping's been
Oh, the one
growing up.
that's gone, the one that's gone.
Excuse me.
Yes, it's that one, 2 or 3 of the propellers are damaged and there's no landscaping around it.
And there probably was when it was installed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to find it really quickly. There's a part in the ordinance about landscaping.
Okay.
Because we didn't want it to get to the point where the money for public art was just paying for bushes and things. But yeah, I think I know which one you mean, and I think the wind.
Something happened.
It blew off recently and they actually took it down. It should be repaired now.
Yeah, okay.
This was the one at Central where
Correct.
Okay.
It was off. It was, the artist actually came and got it, repaired it, and now it's been reinstalled.
Oh, it's
So
back there again?
It should be.
And we can all do a drive-by.
I know, I'm gonna go, look, I haven't been by there.
Have Officer Gerald check.
That's right, that's right. I'll text you. Check something else for us. This is Laura Hadley from Cultural Arts. So Laura, does, the landscaping like around something like that, are you guys responsible for that or is Parks responsible for that?
Typically it's Parks.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So, as we stand right now,
Yes.
that's what so if we reported that, we could report it to the Park Department announcement.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay. And ask them if they could look at that landscaping. We just did that up at Nomar. It got kind of overgrown and Parks is gonna come out and do some weeding and plantings. And, okay, any other questions for Sharon? Okay, are you guys okay with just feedback and suggestions? Okay. All right.
Thank you so
very
much.
much.
Is this online?
You can take one of these home. I have one of these.
And I can email it to you.
You can email.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, issues of concern. Any issues?
I have some. One, there's lots of litter at the Amador Bridge on the northwest bank. Lots and lots of litter.
Yeah, I know.
Where's that?
Okay.
Sorry.
The northwest bank of the Amador Bridge.
So the same place.
And then another issue is about the interest. Could have been or the teddy bear. And then the second item I have is that 17th and Charles, there's an entry to the bicycle path. And if you look at that bicycle path to the left, or it would be on the west side of the bicycle path, there's some overgrown bushes and a lot of discarded tree limbs. And upon a closer look in there, it looks as if possibly somebody might be living there. Oh. Yeah.
I got hit by that. I didn't see anyone living there, but I ran into that the other day.
Yeah.
Like on your bike?
Yeah.
The bush guy?
Yeah, yeah.
The bush guy.
And so where is that?
17th.
Charles. Is that this bike path?
Yeah, there's
Yeah, you can get a little cut through.
To get down like to the river bike path?
Yeah, there's a cut through from the neighborhood.
And is that between like Big Arkansas Park and Amador?
No, it's between, what's the street that comes through there?
17th and Charles.
So it's Charles, comes off of Charles at 17th Street. Yeah, so it's really from the neighborhood and it goes right down to the bike path at Amador and Amador. Yeah.
I was going too fast. I thought I could.
All right, anything else?
I'll email the other one to you.
Okay. Sure.
Well, it's about that St. Paul median strip. We've got an individual who's using it as a driveway, as an extension of his driveway. And from what I understand, that they don't have the money to landscape it.
Right.
And I don't know if somebody could talk to the gentleman who's
Yeah, so
driving
let's turn
over.
this one into Janet. So where is it on?
Okay,
St. Paul?
I'll get the address.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, and somebody could talk to them. Yeah. I was thinking if we can't do landscaping, maybe put up some posts. Post and replant the grass.
Okay.
On 13th Street, just
So where is it at?
just west of Sheridan, the storm drain, somebody just put,
Oh.
it's pointed out, somebody's going to run into.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So there's.
On 13th, just west of
Down to
Sheridan,
the, okay.
in the storm drain. Which side of the
South side.
south side?
What did they put in there?
Lumber. What in the world?
And the board that sticks out the furthest is broken, and it's winded, so,
Yeah.
you know, somebody else.
Good
I have a
heavens.
wheel on there, so.
Wow,
Yes,
okay,
I forgot.
yeah, okay. Any other issues of concern? How about, let me find my, how about neighborhood reports? Any neighborhood reports? How many neighborhoods do a neighborhood night out? Good deal.
Well, our neighborhood is, do it by blocks, like Sean's block is having
Oh.
a lot.
Although I was asked to do it, and then I got an invitation to go to one, so
So
I don't think they like me to be the host, so it's good for me, yeah.
Well, lucky you.
I have how many? 70?
Oh, wow.
Okay, I'm not sure I can make it to all of those.
Well,
I
not just in District 6.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Citywide.
Citywide, 70, all right.
Check out, oh, citywide.
Yeah.
I will say, North Riverside, this is not about the neighborhood night out. They just did the neighborhood cleanup, and there was an astounding amount of junk that got hauled out of the neighborhood. I did not participate. I am still recovering from a long illness, but I think they said something about like 3.5 tons were taken out of neighborhoods. That was really impressive.
Any other neighborhood?
Orchard Park had a pool party last night.
Yeah, how'd it go?
It went awesome. We only did advertising on social media. So we had about 75 there last night, had hot dog cookouts, some ice cream. So the neighborhood came out. So last year we did it as a plea to like save the pool. This year was a celebration that we're getting updated pool. So the neighborhood is pretty excited. We had the concept design that we had received from Brian Hill, and as well as a parks packet. It was well received. A lot of kids just came out of the neighborhood that we had never seen before. So at these events, so it was a good turnout. So we opted to do that instead of the neighborhood night out. So that is a really good time. And Brian Hill worked with us because technically the pool closed on Saturday, and so they let us in on the Sunday. Lifeguards and staff were great. So yeah, it was a good time.
All right, I have a couple of announcements. I gave you all a little card for Access Wichita. This is the new one-stop report it all anything. So the old app that we had, Wichita Report app, this will replace that. Okay, so at some point in time, if it hasn't already, the report app goes away. But this is a website. It's also mobile friendly, and you know, promote it to your homepage if you want to. There's a lot of information on there too. Like if you want to know something, you can type it into the search, and it'll bring up whatever it is you're looking for. So like the example they've been using, like if you want to know how many chickens you can have in Wichita in the city limits.
How many can you have?
I think it's 3.
It's you need a license at 5.
Yeah. So you can have it
Oh,
for
so you
5?
can have 4 before
I
you
have
have to have a license. Okay. So anyway, it will tell you that. You can look that up. It's like up all kinds of things. But anyway, it's a really good, and if you want to report anything, this is a good way to do it. You can also, of course, report through the CSR and that way, but if you want to report anything, you can try that.
This was a one-stop.
One stop for everything.
Cindy, the app, you were able to take a picture and it easily
Yes,
went
you
on
can
there.
do
Is it
that.
still?
You can do that with
Okay.
this one too. Yeah, you can still take pictures, you can drop pins, you can, location pins, everything.
So is this an app?
It's not, but you can save, you know how to save it as an app on your, I can show you how to do that.
I can.
Yeah, and it's very mobile friendly, so if you don't have it as an app, you can have it as a bookmark. Yeah, pretty easy. So, and for your friends that don't like to do websites or apps, there is an access@wichita.gov. So there's an email address and there's a phone number that you can get it back to the department to use the computer. And so you gave them the phone number and they were just thrilled. So, yeah.
My son is having Martinez have his annual lunch meeting
Oh,
on
yes.
the 17th.
Yes, thank
So
you.
if anyone is interested in
So,
volunteering,
and so how do you keep the apps on
I
the side?
know they're doing the neighborhood cleanup. I can't remember exactly where he's gonna be. But if you go to the Facebook page on your community, it's all the details there.
Yes, and it is a fabulous event. It's held at Evergreen, and there's all kinds of things for all ages, and so all interests. So
What is that? I was
it's
talking.
it's Love Your Community, and it's August 17th, right? At Evergreen, over at the rec center.
Next door?
Uh-huh. And it is really cool. They do
Lots
a
of
neighborhood
resources.
cleanup in the morning. The kids do a neighborhood cleanup, and then from there, I think they have a parade, and they end up over at the park, and then there's, lots of service providers there, and there's games, and there's music, and there's food, and a big party. Really good. So thank you for reminding me. Yeah. So, I mentioned we are hiring a new CSR, so Anna is working very hard on that. I have one report on one of our cases that we saw. So the conditional use case to permit mining and quarrying, soil extraction out at 53rd, that passed the MAPC 12 and nothing, and there was no formal protest for that case, so the MAPC action is the final, and it does not come to city council because there was no protest, okay? And the last thing I have is that I think Matt Brown wants to talk for just a few minutes, right? So I'm going to turn it over to Matt.
Sure. I know Joel's probably got his timer going, about to start it. That's all right. Well, I asked Cindy to address the board tonight. Tonight is my final night serving on the DAB. So I am officially, as of tonight, effectively resigning as a board member. I would be lying to you to say that this does not pain me, and it is not bitter, it is bittersweet. For the last 6 months, I've been pursued by a job in Topeka. And after many, many months of just praying and deciding, my family and I were moving here at the end of the month. If you don't know, I've served as a pastor in this community for the last 7.5 years. I've planted my own church in Town West Mall. And after 3 years of starting that church, we are now moving to Topeka to become a lead pastor up there. If I could tell you anything moving forward, and I'm kind of one who likes to make moments sentimental, I would say this to you. Don't take lightly the direction the city has been going, and to actively be a participant in the rise that has become a thriving city within the Midwest. And for just in 1 year, I've seen dreams come true. I've seen baseball stadium is a great monument for something amazing like that. So do not just serve on this board for notoriety reasons, but I would encourage you to actively continue to take part in the community to make it better than it was the day before. I've been able to serve from the Grants Review Committee to meet with a couple different council members, Cindy included. I've been engaged in the Citizens Engagement Academy, and I would encourage you, if you have not done that, apply, because I've heard it's now funded for life. So now I'll take the opportunity to do that. I've also been able to serve as the pastor of Radiant Church, but in the discussion of racism down at City Hall, Sean was a part of that with the Real Initiative and was able to go to New Orleans to represent the city of Wichita as a community partner. That's a conversation that continues to need to happen. So I would encourage you to be active in that. Lastly, be creative in your approach and to engage your neighbors. This city is because of people, not because of what we build, and we build things based off of relationships. And so thank you for letting me serve, Cindy. You took a risk on me, so thanks. I know I've had a couple of random rants here about feral cats and different dreams and putting up fences on zoning cases that you all disagree with, but I just want to say thank you. It's been a joy and a pleasure. Learned a lot. So thank you. Oh, and go to the baseball stadium, go to the games. Gotta support it. Yes.
All right.
So are you gonna come back and go to the game?
I plan on being there opening day.
Okay.
They have to. I've already split the church between that and KU, so yeah.
There you go. All right, I have one more thing. Thank you very much, Matt. Really appreciate it. I'm going to miss Matt. So I met Matt when I was campaigning for this position. I went to the Orchard Park neighborhood meeting to introduce myself, and I was very impressed with Pam, and so when I got on council, I contacted him and said, would you consider being on a board? And so we looked at it and said, I think I'd be interested in that, so that's how I got it. So I'm very sad that he's leaving us, but I am sure that he will come back. So, all right, one more thing. CDBG board is looking for one. Any interest in serving? Those of you that have served on this before, it's a bi-monthly meeting on the first Thursday at 11:45, so it's over lunch. Do they serve lunch? Do you know?
They used to, but I don't think they do
Not anymore.
Woodgrove.
Yeah. Like
Well,
public housing. But so it's a brown bag.
It drug the meetings on too long, I think, is why they quit. Probably it's budgetary, but it just drug the meetings on forever.
Oh, because you had lunch.
Yeah,
and
it starts, gets off topic, and then we sit around and bullshit. It's like, we have better things
Don't
to
put
do.
that in the notes.
We're still on Facebook Live.
So,
All right, so is there any interest from anybody on this board? I guess if you don't, you wouldn't have to tell us tonight either. You could think about it a little bit and get back with me or get back with Janet. I don't think, Joel served on it before.
I started on CBG.
CDBG.
CDBG.
That's what this one is. This is CDBG.
Oh.
I thought we were talking about
CDBG.
what does that stand for?
Bluegrass Park.
No.
Community Development Block Grant. So it's tied to that housing.
Okay.
And they look at things to do with.
They're
how
really
public
interesting.
housing.
Yeah.
Would you like to serve again?
I have to go make money
You've
now.
not served on it? You have, okay, and it's interesting.
It's interesting. One of the things I did learn from serving on it and then hearing some discussions after I did were I didn't know that was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the laws, remember?
So we were on the Community Block Grant Committee.
That's Community Development Block Grant, that's what this
Yeah.
is.
And isn't that the one where, the federal funds
Yes.
and all that?
Yeah, every other month we met. That's what you said,
Yeah,
right?
fine.
Okay, I thought you
Yeah.
said like every 2 weeks. Like, no.
No, no, oh, no,
Yeah.
every other
Yeah, that
month,
was the
yes,
one.
every other month.
Yeah,
But
it was,
didn't
it
you
was
notice
interesting.
that soon after we left, I heard the head of that department say we almost lost federal funding for something.
Oh, they were always saying that.
Oh,
Or if they know any.
They're always threatening.
Yes, yes, or if you know anybody that would like to serve, that you think would be a good candidate for this.
I had somebody, but he moved to Topeka.
Yeah, I know.
I've already taken enough nominations here.
All right, I won't take any more time, but again, if you're interested or you know somebody that might be interested,
But it's, but when they have those, they have like certain members that represent certain species, not species, certain,
This is Boundary Lines, Kellogg and 135.
and then they had like, because I represented the business community, and then we had somebody that represented
Somebody representing the
the
poverty.
the not so
Low
rich
income.
people, yeah.
Yeah, this is, yes, this is low income, representing low income.
So the person who does the low income, representing low income, has to run for election.
Yes, but we
We've got
help
that
with that.
covered.
Yeah, but that's easy to do. They got their loopholes, their government.
Yeah.
Cindy, are you able to send
They
us
can do whatever
something, or
they
is there
want.
something that we can share if we want to get people interested?
I can send you some.
Okay, thank you. That'd be helpful.
Great. All right. All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to
Go
adjourn.
eat.
Did you have something else, Joel?
No, I'm gonna go eat.
Oh, okay.
Go sleep.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.
Get up
Thank
and
you all
go do
very
it all over
much.
again.
And now I'm gonna go watch
Yeah.